R&B Money. We up. Tank. J Valentine. We are the authorities on all things R&B.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tank.
I'm J Valentine.
This is the R&B Money Podcast, the authority. It's the fucking authority
Oh shit.
on all things
Yeah.
R&B.
Come on.
There is a brotherhood in R&B. There's lineage. There's history in R&B that connects and dates back all the way to the beginning of even me. And we got a guy here to confirm. A talent, a gift, writer, songwriter, producer, businessman.
Yeah.
More importantly, my loved one, man. Papa John's pizza brother and Domino Wings brother. Give it up for Donnie Scantz and his brother.
What's up, man?
Yeah.
So happy to be here, man. Glad
Hey,
to
we
see you,
had
bros.
many a Papa John's pizza with the garlic butter sauce.
You could only imagine
That's
how
y'all
we
was
got there
that's y'all was surviving
And
on?
the wings.
Yeah.
And
Survival.
things.
all the time.
What? So it's crazy
That was
because I knew, we always go back to the beginning. We're gonna go back to your beginning, right?
Okay.
But when I, as I became Tank was always my nickname, but then I became Tank again, whatever that means, on tour with Genuine and Aaliyah, because Genuine didn't want to call me Darrell. He was like, "Nigga, you ain't got no nickname?" I was like, "Yeah, but only my family called me that. What's wrong with Darrell?"
Can't be black without a nickname. You can't be black
I
without
said,
a
they
nickname.
called me Tank. He said, "You gonna be Tank, nigga." I was like, all right. So as I become Tank, my first real stop into developing whoever this Tank guy is going to be is Noontime.
Wow.
The
And
legendary.
The legendary.
Legendary Noontime.
Atlanta. And the
Legendary.
first guy they pair me with is this guy right here.
There it is.
Amir.
Believe that. And you wouldn't even believe how that pairing occurred,
How? Okay. How?
because it came at a time where I wasn't officially signed to Noontime at that time.
I didn't know that.
Right. I had basically privilege to be in the building and to create. And shouts out to B Cox.
Yeah,
Shouts
yeah,
out
yeah.
to the Noontime family for allowing me that opportunity. One, but how that opportunity came was an accident. Because there was nobody in the building, if you remember, but us.
It was just us. Yeah.
It was just me and you. And that's really a fast forward into like the whole process of our creative relationship, because before that, there was like a real hard grind going on. But Noontime was gone. They were going to New York to work with Aaliyah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, so all of them, they just was like, we out.
Well, it wasn't, it was a deal happening between Blackground and
Yeah,
Noontime.
yeah.
Okay.
And, they had a relationship where all of the signed producers got an opportunity to go work with Aaliyah.
Yeah.
And I had to stay back. And it was such the fortunate experience for me to have to stay back because I got to meet you.
Yeah. It was just us, bro.
It was just
That
us
whole
in the
building.
studio.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was like 30 days, I want to say.
Hey, we did some time, bro.
It was like, how many records you think we created
I don't
during
even
that
know.
time? Right? So legend has it that we created a record a day.
I'm sure we did something like that.
And from that came many opportunities. And shouts out to JQ, because I watched his podcast and he mentioned one of the legendary records that we came up with.
Yeah.
I brought it here with me today, by the way.
We might have to
Had to put on the big.
put that on the big.
See, I like to bring some receipts with me. I like to bring some receipts. But the point is there was a time when, I was really on the grind and I really didn't have a footing for myself as a producer. I really didn't even have a footing for myself in Atlanta at the time because I wasn't from Atlanta. And so getting to know a lot of the Atlanta community was like really working up, you know? And so I didn't have songwriters who worked with me regularly.
Right.
So I wasn't necessarily writing songs that everybody was really interested in hearing, you know? So it was really a grind, but when they dropped you there, it was like, okay, now's the time to really show them something.
Yeah.
And that fast forwarded it, I think, into maybe, this was my second trip to Atlanta because Ideal was originally the reason why I came to Atlanta in the first place.
Shout out to Ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ideal.
My Houston brothers and my family.
Well, let's go back to Houston. Let's go back to Houston. Let's start in Houston.
Start there.
How do you even get started? Like, how do you say, you know what I'm saying? Give me some equipment. I need to figure this shit out.
Wow. All right, well, here it goes. Only child. Just me and my mom growing up. We went to Windsor Village Church.
Yeah.
As many of us, we start out in the church. I played drums, studied jazz, and there was a group of friends that I had made from junior high school, right? Wayne Perry, Cedric Cotton, Maverick Cotton, Jay Green. This is from junior high school, 6th, 7th grade. I was the youngest of our crew. And these guys were uber talented. I'm talking about like, this is the junior high school that Chris Dave went to. Johnston, shouts out to Johnston Middle School.
Yeah.
And this is how it all started, because if you know anything about artist development during that time, you know it took years, right?
It still should take you.
Right.
And it should.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. And by the time, of course, through our musical diaspora growing up, you know, we sang in the choirs, we played in the church bands. We were in the jazz bands at school. We were really into music theory. All of these guys played an instrument, but they also sang too. And so by the time we got to high school, Ideal gets signed to Virgin Records. I was in 10th grade when they got signed. I was also in 10th grade when Chris Dave went to play for Mint Condition.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of our musical influences that we had grown up around, that we had admired, you know, Jason Moran was also cut from that cloth too, and he's like director of the Kennedy Center Jazz.
Yeah.
So it's like these types of musical pedigrees was around us. And this what really inspired us. Now, me being the youngest kid, nobody was really listening to me. I couldn't sing a lick. My cousin Charles Venn was in the group at the time too.
He was in Ideal?
Ideal was a 5-man group before it turned into a 4-man group. And they went to Lamar High School. So I kind of followed them everywhere they went, right? And by the time I ended up graduating, which I graduated from the High School for Performing and Visual Arts, which is the same school B. Cox, Beyonce, all of the, you know, that pedigree went through. But they were already signed to Virgin Records, and they got put on the shelf. And so by the time we get through graduating high school, you know, these guys was running around Houston singing, you know, at all kinds of events. My mother, who was like a socialite in Houston, you know, set them up singing events for Winnie Mandela, things of that such. And then they caught the ears of this management company called Mactown Management and Too Hard to Touch. This same management company happened to manage this group, H-Town.
Yeah.
Right?
Too hard to touch.
Yeah. Shout out to Bishop Burrell, Stick, Pat Johnson, those guys. Now, mind you, I didn't have any skin in the game. I'm just a kid that's rolling with my friends, hoping one day that maybe I could just be the drummer to go on tour with them. That was my dream, because I'm looking at Chris Dave and what he's doing, and I'm like, man, this is what I want to do.
So are they moving with the band though at this point, or no?
Moving with H-Town?
No, I'm saying as far as Ideal. So like you said, you just wanted to go on the road with them. So no, you just really kicking it. You're not even playing drums at the shows, nothing.
None of that.
Okay.
None of it. But we wanted to create music together. And, you know, during that time, you know how much it costs to get in studios.
Different.
Arm and leg.
So we didn't have the ability to have those types of privileges, especially growing up in Houston. It wasn't like an Atlanta scene. It wasn't like there was just the music business everywhere.
Right.
So when H-Town and Pat Johnson and Bishop Burrell invested their time creatively in these guys, they gave them an opportunity to write and produce their own stuff, right? Shouts out to G.I. Jackson, right? Because he was one of the dudes in H-Town that saw me.
Yeah.
That saw me and would invite me over to his crib, and he's like, hey, play with this ASR 10 keyboard for a little bit. You know, let's see what you could do. Couldn't do nothing.
Right.
Couldn't do nothing, but it was somebody that in that nucleus saw me in a way in which that was different from how they saw my guys.
Right.
And I knew my guys were talented. Like, I was like waving their flag like none other. And H-Town would take them on like spot dates. You know, they might have an opening.
Yeah.
And this was long before Noontime came into the picture, long before the records came into the picture, long before we even took a trip to Atlanta, right? And that thing kind of fizzled after a while.
Yeah. But this whole time, Ideal is signed to Virgin. They're a signed group.
Signed group to Virgin, right? Directly to Virgin, not through any subsidiaries or anything like that. And so it was a privileged opportunity because we saw this growth, and it took years. It took years to get on the shelf.
Yeah.
They had a single came out that was a Marvin Gaye remake on Original Gangsters. I don't know if y'all remember that.
Of course
movie.
I remember Original Gangsters,
Right.
man. Drew Down was in Original Gangsters, man.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a real West Coast movie. huh?
Absolutely.
So that was the beginning, right? For me, seeing what could potentially occur, right? And I go to college then. When I go to college, everybody's back at home. You know, the movie didn't do too good. The soundtrack didn't do too good. I think Virgin was changing administrations.
Regimes, yeah.
You know, and so, you know, get lost in the sauce at a certain point. But we never stopped. And so I got into a car accident, maybe coming home from college. And it awarded me the opportunity to buy some gear.
Yeah.
And I bought an ASR 10 keyboard. What G.I. used to let me come over his crib and play with and tinker with. I bought it from Bishop Burrell, Stick. So he's the guy that produced Knockin' the Boots, produced all the H-Town stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So that was my first keyboard. And then I'm like, okay, we can create something now. But I wasn't a keyboard player, but this was a sampler.
Right.
So I learned how to manipulate things, learn how to record their vocals into the sampler, stack them up, press the one button, and it sounds like a bunch of stacks. It's like the first DAW.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and that was really my first foray into the technical side of things because now I felt like I had some value to bring to the table. And
So they had no other main producer at this point.
no, they had Stick, and it was us as a group. We called ourselves at that time Abstract Productions, right? I know you remember Biohazard.
Of course.
Yeah. So it was like our first Biohazard production company, and it was us. And we had an opportunity to go in, and some people gave us, you know, we had some guys that threw us a little money, and it was like
The streets.
right.
Yeah.
So we had some guys that threw us some money and said, go in the studio and do some things. So we cut this demo. And I mean, like, one of these songs is called Puppy Love, right? I can't wait till y'all hear that, right? Robert Glasper loves this song too.
To this day.
To
I'm
this
sure.
day, right? But so yeah, that was the claim to fame of my contribution to them as a group coming out of Houston, still being at Howard, because I would be coming home from Howard.
Right.
At Howard, I would have relationships with this guy, Eric Roberson.
My guy.
Right? And he would be going back and forth from Atlanta, and he'd be like, man, working with these people down there. This one producer, J-Dub. I don't know who J-Dub is until I start reading them album credits.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wow. So Eric Roberson would come back, play me certain ideas. What you think about this? You know, and I'm just a kid. Like, nobody's still really paying attention to the fact that I got a group back at home that's signed to Virgin Records, even though I'm not on no paperwork for nothing that they're privy to. Like, it's still us at the end of the day. So it gets around to the point to where, like, they're in limbo. They're in limbo. I'm in school. I get to my second semester of my junior year at Howard at this point. And they find a way to have someone, Leslie Bond, actually. I'm gonna mention their names.
Yeah.
Leslie Bond. What's up, Les? Through one of our cousins, Pete, who was a lawyer in St. Louis. And he was like, you know what, I'm gonna take on this action and we gonna fly out to LA and we gonna see what's going on with Ideal's project. So he came out here, he had a meeting with Eric Brooks. Ideal didn't necessarily have like a real core manager at this time. And they were able to convince them to put some attention on Ideal. Mm-hmm. And the minute that happened, Virgin decided that we're going to fly them out here. We're going to put them up in the Park La Brea before the Grove was there, any of that was there. Yeah. Right? And you thought that they was just going to leave me? Go to LA? Right? So, nah.
Yeah.
I packed my stuff up at school and I was like, I'm out.
When we leave?
When we going?
You leave school. You like, I'm
going.
This is it.
I'm going at this particular point because in school, you know, I'm still touting, you know, my guys got a deal. Like,
right.
These are one.
They up next.
Yeah. You know, so come out to LA, and this had to be in 1999, right? 1997 to 1999, we were out here. And I stayed on the couch. Virgin rented a van, you know, for us to move around with. Wasn't a lot of money going around. And they were getting like a monthly stipend. I was getting zero. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, calling my mom. Let me get some, you know, rolling around money, eating money, whatnot. You know, go to Western Union, pick it up, call my dad, you know. Things would, you know, they would help out. But virtually, you know, I'm out here figuring it out. Mm-hmm. And so Eric Brooks at the time, and I'm fast forwarding a little bit, but I mean, we met with like Big John. We met with like, you know, people who are at the height of their game in publishing or actually getting there. You know, I don't know at what trajectory when we walked into this meeting with Big John and we're playing him all of these demos and whatnot. And they're basically like, it's like, no, these songs suck.
Shit.
Come on, tell the truth about the music business.
Shit.
Yeah.
Because everybody thinks we're looking at successful people and they've always had good music to everyone.
Oh, no.
It might have been good music to you at the time.
Oh, it was great to us.
Right. But then you start realizing the reality of what the big leagues really are.
Big leagues.
Right. Yes. And we stepped into it really quickly with not a lot of representation. Mm-hmm. Basically zero representation. Les didn't have experience in the music business, even though he was a lawyer. So he knew how to kind of look at deals and see what was what.
He knew certain terms, but not everything.
Right. Yeah. But we were like really on our own, kids in this game. Like literally kids.
Taking meetings with y'all songs.
Taking meetings with our songs.
Nobody liked them.
Nobody liked them.
Oh, shit.
It was...
do you remember the feeling of that, though?
Yes, because it was, I mean, it's like a gut punch, really, and a reality check, too, at the same time. Because this group is undeniably talented. They will sing any group under the table. Mm-hmm. Their harmonies were like none other. So how could anything that their voices be on not be good?
Not be good. Yeah.
It happens.
It happens. It happens.
Hey, bro.
No, it happens.
It happens.
You know,
like,
so
even if you like do like I mean, I'm sure when you play some stuff, you do a deep dive. Like I've listened to some of my old records, and I'd be like, "Damn, I was trash."
Exactly.
Listen, nobody bats 1,000.
No,
Let
you
me
can't.
tell you, we can
Yeah.
still go back and listen to this Puppy Love record. And I'm sorry, but that record was fire.
But were y'all playing Puppy Love for people too?
We were playing that.
But nobody liked it.
It was jazzy. It was like,
It's also called Puppy Love. I mean, we gotta.
I wish a grown nigga would play me Puppy Love. Hey man, if you grown niggas don't get up out of here.
This is really hot. It's called Puppy
You
Love.
niggas is 23.
Me and all my guys.
oh man.
We just talking about all the puppies
and no, we're not thinking we're not
that we've
thinking about
nurtured
that
over the years.
You know, we're thinking we some real musicians out here.
Right.
And, you know, we are adding some value to
Puppy Love.
But also, you know
gotta
what?
stop.
I'm glad you said that.
right.
Speak on that side of it, right? Where you're real musicians, where you've grown up, you've went to the school of the arts.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we've
And now
studied this thing.
you're in the music business.
Way different.
Because that's something different.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Like I get it. You know, guys are gonna, grow up and they're gonna play at the Kennedy Center and they're going to,
But we really didn't get
Yeah.
we really didn't get that reality check until we got down to Atlanta with Noontime.
Yeah.
And that was a major reality
Well, you
check.
kind of got the reality check when you sat with Big John. And
Yeah,
he told
yeah,
you
we
Puppy
got
Love
no,
wasn't it.
yeah, because at that point
Well,
it
you
was a
got the-
deciding
they
factor.
They got the response, right? But they didn't necessarily get the education.
Right. We got
You know what I'm
the
saying?
basically
Yes, yes.
it could have gone two ways. It could have been these records are whack. Y'all gonna be
Good
on the
luck.
shelf permanently.
Yeah.
Right. But what had happened is Ideal found someone in Virgin Records, right? And they asked her to come and manage them.
Okay.
Right? And so now
play it. Gotta-
there was someone who spoke the language of the business,
Yeah.
who probably didn't have any experience managing at that time, but who worked in there.
It's that
And
man.
that worked in that building. Her name was Carmonique Roberts.
Carmonique, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm saying names.
Yeah, you saying that.
Okay? Shouts out to Carmonique
Yeah.
Roberts because the moment that she started to speak for the group, then we started to see things happening. You know, it was somebody who believed in the group, somebody who was willing to take their time and energy and speak on the behalf of,
Yeah.
right? Those who can't necessarily speak for themselves a certain kind of way, right? And she happened to went to go to Howard. And so back channel now, I got my little cousin, B. Cox, calling me too while he's at Clark Atlanta University, because there was a period of limbo before we moved to LA where I was working at Mars Music, right? And he was in Clark Atlanta and trying to figure it out, right? And part of his story is he's walking around, he finds this flyer on the ground.
The Noontime flyer. Yeah.
Right. And he calls him up and he's trying to get over there and go intern. And, hey, look, I don't want to be paid. Just give me studio time. Right? Guy from Houston, PVA, well-trained musically. Right? So, back channel, Cox and him already knew Ideal was signed, like, since we were in high school. He was an underclassman to us, right? So we're like seniors. He was like a sophomore, right? And he worked at the Guitar Center. And so we just, we just try to figure out ways that how we can really just make it. So by the time we get to LA, things start moving. Carmonique starts moving. He's in Atlanta. Carmonique sets up this meeting. Well, here's how it happened. J-Dub submitted some tracks. And before we got to Atlanta, he came to LA. And I think that there was something going on between the Noontime relationship, but J-Dub was out here rolling with TR. And they went to the Music Grinder Studios.
Talk about the music grinder.
The Music Grinder Studios, right? And recorded this song that we all sat in the circle in the Park La Brea and we wrote. about a breakup that my cousin Pete had, right? A song called Tell Me Why. It's on Ideal's first album, all right? This is J-Dub produced track. This was before we got to Atlanta and started to realize that our songs were trash, right? But this song actually made it.
Yeah.
Because it was on a J-Dub beat.
Yeah.
And the 5 of us in the room wrote it. And so we were like, yeah, we could do this thing. Start feeling ourselves a little bit. We worked with J-Dub. You know, and so now on the other side of the management's back channels, Carmonique is on the phone working out, well, how can we come down and get some more Noontime records? Right? So they work out a chunk of a deal. You know, there was a lot of money going around in the music business back then, right? And they flew down to Atlanta. I wasn't on that ticket. Because, mind you, I'm not the guy that anybody's paying attention
You're not
to.
in the damn group.
I'm not in the group.
Okay? So let's just get this.
What are you even doing
Who's the
here?
guy on the couch?
What are you even doing here?
The guy. It's just
Right.
the guy.
You know, and there were, you know, ran around LA working with a bunch of songwriters and producers here, and, you know, things just weren't sticking, you know, for them. But I was also making relationships too. And I remember making a relationship with this one producer and who would invite me over to his studio and to do some drum programming for him. And I just learned a lot about the technical aspect of it. And I was really just sowing my oats. You know, I wouldn't just lay on the couch just waiting for Ideal to
sure.
do something. I was going to use the best of my time out here in LA the best way I could. And that was making, you know, relationships with other producers who could teach me things, because people were telling me, oh, this one little keyboard that you're working on is not industry standard enough. So you got to get your game up.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy that they would say that.
Right. Yeah. But I didn't know anything about sound design.
Well, no, the ASR 10 was just, I mean, at that time, we're talking Timberland.
Yeah, we are talking
Like,
Timberland.
we're talking like a game-changing machine. Like
It was a game-changing machine.
We're talking Big Tank.
But if
like,
you didn't know how to manipulate it like a
if you didn't have the
Timberland,
sound, if you didn't have the...
and if you knew about sound design then, right, getting sounds wasn't like going on Splice today.
Right, of
Okay?
course, of course. Of
You
course.
had to
People
know
were
Speedy.
paying-
You
people
had to
were
know
pay-
Speedy.
You have to know Speedy.
Speedy was, and Speedy, hold up.
Shout out to Speedy,
We
man.
knew Speedy.
Yeah.
We just couldn't afford it.
couldn't afford it.
We couldn't afford
Hey,
Speedy.
hey, Speedy was walking around like you can't afford me.
Well, hey,
neither.
listen. He's like, I got 2 for 3 or 3 for 4. You got to let me know what you want to do. 'Cause
Right, no,
these are hot. These are moving.
These are hot, these are moving.
Speedy was like at least $5,000, 5 to 10
he's
grand.
Oh, it was
cooking.
no joke.
He's
It was
cooking.
no joke.
Okay?
I was like, where you getting this?
But
thing?
Speedy
You want the
taught
sounds
me a
of that?
lot, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
He taught all of us a lot.
No,
Yeah.
great guy.
I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
for sure. So, back channels, Carmonique's figuring out how Ideal could get some more great songs.
Yes.
Right? And I'm skipping over some things, you know, and hopefully I'm not I'm blanking a little bit, but to move forward, Virgin does this deal with Noontime. All these guys went to Howard. I'm thinking like, yes. You know, I'm thinking everybody that went to Howard is going, you know.
Y'all just go see each other in your HU.
Right. It's going to be HU all day.
Yeah.
Right. And no, it was really about business at the end of the day. And we get to Noontime. Carmonique flies me there because, of course, I'm not in the group. And she pleads with them like, hey, there's this young kid. Oh, this is what I forgot. Eric Brooks gave me a 3-song deal out of the graciousness of his heart.
Shit. Okay.
Right? It was worth $30,000 all in.
I'll take that.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I'll take that.
And he was like, okay, young guy who wants to be a producer, we're going to teach you how the game goes. Y'all go do 3 songs in the studio and then bring them back to us, right? We did 3 songs, spent that $30,000 up, and we split $2,500, right? Rewind how we were able to do that is through this A&R named Alex Mejia, who was
I remember Alex Mejia.
who was an A&R in Virgin, and he was like, okay, cool, your equipment is whack. Let me help you get some equipment. So he gave us a rolling keyboard. He gave us an MPC 60. And it was the one that Tupac did Dear Mama on, which was like
The actual one.
the actual one.
Oh, shit, okay.
And so we had it in the apartment. And so then we started producing these tracks. Now that we got, somebody that actually is going to give us some money to do something. So we went and spent up that. We did 3 songs. One of the songs actually made Ideal's record. So I did feel like I was made at that point.
Yeah.
Right? Virgin gave me a 3-song deal.
So
Donnie
did
Scantz.
did y'all spend the 27.5 on the equipment, or did y'all
Studio.
have, or did y'all have
No.
to like?
This wasn't our equipment.
Oh, y'all giving kickbacks?
No.
Oh, okay. See,
No.
I'm trying to figure out what is.
We didn't even
'cause
learn
you
that
said-
part of the game
You
yet.
know what I'm saying? You said
But
y'all
3
split
songs, I mean,
2,500.
y'all
I'm trying to
probably-
figure out where
That, because
the
it
other,
was all in.
okay.
So
So,
you
so
recorded-
there was all in and there was fee deals.
Okay, all right,
Right?
all right,
So
all right.
all in meant you paid for everything.
Yes,
You paid
yes,
for the studio
of course.
time, you paid for the mixing, you paid for the process. The time you'll spend in the studio is coming out of that budget. Right? So what we learned from that is that we don't want to do all in deals anymore. We want to do fee deals. But, who are we?
Yeah.
But I still felt like we did something.
Yeah.
We did something. One of those songs ended up being one good song that made it to Ideal's record.
Right.
The other 2 got scrapped. And then we had to complete the record, right? The record wasn't complete. So now we're going to Atlanta to work with the big dogs. And we get into Noontime and we receive our next gut punch because they had writers there. They had producers there. They had the whole,
no full thing factory.
yeah. And that was something that we never had the opportunity to be privy to. And we got there and they was like, y'all ain't shit. Your songs ain't shit. But I'm the dude in the back like, y'all, we got 3 songs. We just did 30 grand with Virgin. My guys will sing anybody under the table up in here. I'm down here like cheerleading my ass off in a way in which I didn't know that I shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah. You can get kicked out of a lot of rooms.
Yeah, and not at noontime.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So that was a learning experience. But the point that I did get across was my guys are talented enough at least to vocally arrange whatever is written for them. And that's something that stuck because now we're in a system where there was money paid and now people are trying to get on this project that was actually going to have some legs to
I know
it.
it's a budget.
Right.
Yeah.
When there's a budget in place and the wolves get hungry. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But we didn't know like the margin of talent that we were up against.
Mm-hmm.
You had the twins who at this point,
Right, and everything.
well, they were working with B. Cox.
Yeah.
And everything hadn't necessarily been exposed yet. And so, there was still like back channels with me and B. Cox, like, man, how can I get some songs on Ideal? These Noontime guys, I'm just an intern here, and I'm like,
So B. Cox is saying I'm just an intern here.
right.
Got you. Okay.
So, but he was working with Jagged Edge at the time.
I'm just trying to put the timeline together because this is what, 99?
Yeah. It's like 90.
So when I first met B. Cox, he wasn't signed to Noontime.
he was probably just signed to Noontime.
Probably just signed to Noontime.
Just signed. Because I think he signed maybe 3 to 6 months before I did.
Yeah.
But he was all the way in.
There, but he had already been there.
Like he was locked into the system because, they gave him an opportunity to work in the C room.
Right.
And Jagged caught the ear. Like, who is this little guy in here? We're going to go mess with him.
Yeah.
John Tay was messing with Teddy Bishop, Jazzy.
Yeah.
Everybody had their things going on, and it was success in the building.
Yeah.
Like, John Tay running around there 16 years old was
Cooking.
a sweet lady.
He was cooking. Yeah.
Like,
was like, this nigga's nice.
Very nice. You know, so by the time it got around to putting some attention on Ideal, it was like, okay, let's see what we can give them, right? And that's, I think, around the same time when Brian started to go over to JD's house.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of like this synergy that came around. And even though Jagged was working on their own stuff, you know, they was just a writing powerhouse.
Yeah.
And so they came up with some stuff that Ideal cut, you know, and they arranged whatever they arranged on it, and Jagged left and did whatever they was gonna do, and it came back, and next thing you know, there was a creep in, you know, on Ideal's album, which ended up being their third single, right? And then, you know, there was the Teddy Bishop track, Things You Can't Do. And these were beats that we were like, oh my God.
Yeah, yeah.
We are really not shit.
Yeah, yeah.
But we need this. We need this. And so it was an opportunity for them to really come into form as a group. Now, me as a producer, Carmonique was on the back channels lobbying for Noontime to even just accept me into the building. All right? Because they were like, who is this guy that you're bringing into our territory? Like, this is the era where when artists would cut records, you didn't leave with the record.
Right.
You know, you couldn't get a copy of that.
Right.
You know, so it was like, who is this guy that's coming in basically getting our secrets? You know, and so she was like, look, you know, he's an aspiring producer. You know, can y'all please just, you know, it's Brian's cousin.
Just don't kick him out.
Just don't kick him out. And they didn't kick me out, but they didn't want to sign me. Not at all. Not one bit. And I think the legend is that it was said that he reminds us of Anthony Denton. We already got Anthony Denton.
Gotcha.
So we don't need another one. So we went back to LA. We went 2 trips to Atlanta. All right. This was the first trip. But the first trip, you got to get going.
Who wrote that? That's
John
Johnson,
Tay.
right? Yeah.
Right. You got most of the crux of what Noontime's representation was for Ideal, right? And we didn't know a lot about the business. We didn't know what was going on the backside of it. And, you know, there was some negotiations happening where Noontime ended up getting imprint on Ideal. And I think it was because they had so many influential records on the album. And they came back for the second trip to finish up the records with Noontime, and Carmonique flew me out again, right? And this time, Noontime was like, okay, cool, you could work in that C room with Brian, right? Now, before we had even gotten on this second trip, I remember we were in LA mixing Get Gone with Manny Money, right? At Tracking Place, right? And me and Brian on the phone, and we're trying to send tracks to each other back and forth. And I sent him a track that ended up being this song, I Got It, for Jagged Edge. That was a ballad at first, right? And he would send me more tracks for Ideal, you know, just trying to make sure that we just keeping our little thing, you know, going. And, you know, shouts out to Brian for doing that, because it gave me an opportunity to get on another group.
Yeah.
And it was a ballad that turned into up-tempo when Brian and JD got together. And it ended up featuring Nas. So I was like, man, you know, I made it.
Yeah.
So was that the
Almost.
first record that you had that came out? Did that come out before Ideal?
No. This came out much later.
Later, okay.
But, you know, records took time at that point. So we go back to Atlanta the second time, and this time I could work in the room with Brian. Right. So everything was really about collaboration for me. Everything was about, you know, creating music with my friends, being able to be a part of the process and allow our talents to shine together. And so it was great to see the Noontime setup, because it was really a lot of constructive competition going on. You
Sure.
know, you'd hear in this room over here what Jazzy was doing, and you'd be like, damn, let me go back over here and tighten up my thing. You know, like, so it was a lot of that going on, and
It's another level of college for you.
yeah.
And it was a structure too, though, that I hadn't seen.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
they
from a camp standpoint. I mean, it was literally like, okay, this is the time slot. This is your room from this time to this time. Jazzy's in here. All right, Teddy's coming in. I'm like, where you going, Jazzy? Yeah. Oh yeah, Teddy's coming in. He got from such and such. Then
Right.
the guitar player will come in. What's my
Kevin.
Kevin will come in, and he's got. All right, and then I see Teddy Bishop packing up. Where you going? Oh, my time is up here. I'm going to go to. I'm like, oh, y'all got a whole little factory going.
I mean, Noontime had an A&R department. You know, shouts out to BC24, Billy Calloway.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Right? Billy Calloway, I mean, he did so much for that system because he gave no-name producers an opportunity to sit next to name producers on a DAT, right?
that.
And allowed the mystery of what was on that DAT to play itself out.
That's it. You know who that? It just said Noontime.
That's
Right.
all. The
So,
hottest producers in the game.
This is the hottest shit you're ever gonna hear.
Period.
Yeah.
And that's what was written on the DAT. Noontime, the hottest producers in the game.
Yeah.
Right? So, again, I wasn't signed to Noontime at that point. Think now that JD and Brian's relationship was brewing, Brian became more of a commodity to Noontime. Right? He gets signed. He's off to the races. Get Gone is going to be Ideal's first single. Reaches top 5 on the Billboard charts. Brian's first hit record.
Yeah.
We're ecstatic because we're like, Houston did this thing. Houston, H-Town proud, right? Noontime ends up getting a logo credit on Ideal's record, but Ideal's record after Get Gone comes out does not reach platinum. It only gets to gold. Back then, having a gold record was a failure. Selling 500,000 copies
Because it was real money spent.
Right.
was a failure.
Yeah.
Right? And what needed to happen was a reissue because there was this other sound that was popping. Even though Noontime had, you know, we were like, I would want to say the bad boy of the South, the hitman of the South, in some type of comparative analysis. So they were making hits, right? And it didn't bring Ideal's record to go platinum. So Alex Mejia had a relationship with KG, Naughty by Nature, and there was these budding group that had this crazy sound out of Minneapolis called Next.
Next.
And so they ship Ideal to Jersey. And next thing you know, they come out with that hit, Whatever, with Lil Mo. Album goes platinum. Right?
Off a reissue.
Off a reissue.
Yeah.
And so now it's like these guys are off to the races, and I'm talking about my boys was feeling themselves. They were on tours, big name tours.
Yeah.
Opening up for TLC, opening with Destiny's Child. Because Destiny's Child was also opening for TLC at that time. And so, you know, they were off to the races. Now, Donnie Scantz, however, was still like, hey, guys.
Are you in Atlanta or are you in LA now?
Well, I was in limbo because
they gone.
Because they're gone at this point.
So is the apartment gone too?
Yeah, everything's gone.
So where are you staying?
Here's where Carmonique is such the angel that she was at that time.
Yeah.
So I stayed at Carmonique's mother's house for a little bit while she was figuring out what I was going to do.
Yeah.
in
So she
Atlanta.
managing you at this point too?
She's de facto managing
Looking
me.
out for you.
Okay.
Right. She's de facto managing me at this point, and she's still pleading with Noontime. Like, hey, will you guys please accept this guy? And they're like, well, yeah, he can work in the C room with Brian. Like, we'll see what he could do, right? And so time ran out, me staying at Carmonique's mom's house. And I think that was all of like maybe 2-3 weeks maybe. And, you know, Brian's popping, he's getting his checks now. He gets an apartment in Highland Ridge off of Northside Drive. And it was like 5 of us that was staying in like a 1-bedroom efficiency.
Oh, yeah, I was
Loft.
like, so y'all was
Loft
Instagram models.
That's how they doing it these days? I didn't say that. Instagram models.
I said
it. Yeah, but
It was
you know,
busting down them 2 bottles of Moet just at the table.
But
Like
you know,
12 of y'all.
we was doing our thing, right? And you could imagine how much time is passing in between, you know, all of this stuff that's going on, right? So it's you know, some months, maybe even a year, you know, and we're trying to figure it out. And I'm not officially signed to Noontime.
Yeah.
But I could still go over there
And work.
I could still, you know, get my bones in. And I do appreciate, I'm so appreciative of the ability to do that at that time. Because when they left me behind to go to New York while they were, you know, negotiating this big Aaliyah deal, before they left, Chris Hicks comes into the C room because there was this group 7 Mile who was working, who was scheduled to work, but everybody was gone. He was like, can you make this track like this with these elements? Kevin's gonna be here. He'll give you some guitars, you know, woo, woo, woo. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I make this track and 7 Mile loves it. They cut a song to it. Sony Music cuts a check for it. I get a check.
Yeah.
They get dropped.
You got your check.
I got the check. Shouts out to 7 Mile.
Yeah.
But I was there in Noontime Studios alone, and then you fly in.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Goosebumps. That's where a lot of my advance money went.
And I
was
guess the
down
inspiration for this legendary record that we ended up cutting. I don't know if it was the first record we cut.
It's absolutely the inspiration, though. I promise you it is. I remember that $40.
Oh, man.
I stretched it out. I kept flipping it over.
because your advance was gone.
I
Yeah.
I'd fuck that up.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah, buddy.
But he got 7 Mile money. He got
I
a
had a
7
little
Mile
7
money.
Mile money.
but we wasn't like we
No.
wasn't balling by no means.
By
It was
no
all
means.
work and pizza.
By no means.
That's it.
Yeah. So, and I still wasn't signed to Noontime. And I keep saying that because what magically occurred, and I think it occurred by accident, was after Noontime's trip was up with recording with Aaliyah in New York. Nobody could figure out who did this one track that Aaliyah just so happened to cut to.
Because on the CDs,
You
on
don't say-
on the DATs,
Yeah,
it never
you know
said
what I
the
mean?
names of the producers. It was
Right.
just the music. It was
Right,
just
just the
Noontime.
music. And what I remember of the story, and you know, I could have it a little bit botched because I wasn't there, is Jazzy heard the track. Jazzy Faye heard the track and was like, "Oh, I want to write to this one for Aaliyah." And Blackground loved the track too. And Aaliyah loved the track.
Yeah.
And so Jonte and Jazzy jump on the record. And Jonte writes the first verse, Jazzy writes the second verse, and it comes back to be I Don't Wanna.
Wow.
And yeah, so when they find out that it was me,
We gotta sign him.
Come on,
We gotta sign him.
let's talk. We need to talk to you.
and it
Get in
didn't
here.
even happen like that just yet because there were some other things that were occurring in the business side of it. Now, Noontime went up there and cut a bunch of records with Aaliyah, right? And during that time, I guess whatever deal that they had going on didn't work out.
Right.
And from what I understood of it is that Blackground didn't want any of those Aaliyah records anymore,
Including I Don't Want It.
including I Don't Wanna. But when it came back down while the deal was still moving on, I was trying to make sure that I secured the potential for this record to be the greatest record that it could be. Mm-hmm. So I was like, Teddy, can you help me on it? Brian, can you help me on it? Everybody.
To help finish it.
Yeah, to help finish it.
Yeah.
Woo, woo, woo. And so, I think we came up with like maybe another version of it. And then Chris was like, nah, they like the record the way it is. And I was like, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And so, things were moving forward until it wasn't. Mm-hmm. Until we got word that Black Ground didn't want any of those records. But somehow, and I don't know how, shouts out to Chris Hicks for whatever magic that he did during that time, but somehow that record got on Priority's desk, Priority Records. And they were doing this movie next Friday. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they wanted Aaliyah so bad to be on this soundtrack, right? That they were willing to pay whatever Black Ground wanted for Aaliyah's appearance. And this was the record that they chose. And I was like, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
So the song was never on her album then?
Not yet.
Okay. Oh, so we go
because
okay.
she wasn't working on any albums at that point.
We're gonna put it on 2 different projects. Okay.
She wasn't even working on an album.
Okay.
Yet. She was doing movies. Mm-hmm. I think she had taken hiatus from like making music, and she was doing movies. She did Romeo Must Die, and then she did Queen and the Damned, right? And there was no Aaliyah music out there until this Next Friday soundtrack came out.
Yeah.
And it was fortunate because they paid whatever her appearance fee was.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell y'all how much what I know of it was. It was $200,000.
Just to get the record.
Just
for her.
Yeah. Just for her.
Yeah.
And it was $43,000 for the track.
Why 43?
I don't know.
Well, that's
I got to admit, my first track was 17.5. I don't know what that number is.
Well, that's at least dope prices. But 43 is like somebody took 7 and it was probably a 50.
Hey man, it was 43,000.
Okay,
somebody definitely.
But we're not complaining because they're 43. Yeah,
we're not complaining.
Oh, you're 43, or you had to give Noontime their piece?
Of course, I had to give Noontime their piece,
and
their piece again because they had publishing too.
But I'm talking about the cash.
Oh yeah. Well, when I say they had publishing, like when we did the deal with Noontime, they did you a production deal and a publishing deal.
Right.
So they gave you an advance, right? And I guess to kind of buffer what the recoupment process was, they'd only recoup like maybe $1,000, $2,000. They take the 20%, for the Noontime management side.
Yeah.
In which at that time, I didn't think I was managed by Noontime. I thought I was managed by Carmonique.
By Carmonique. Yeah, okay.
So it was a lot of other things that were in play at this particular point that I had.
But what happened was you got the Noontime price.
Yeah. I got the Noontime price.
Yeah.
So they, their stock is what got you to 43.
Because right now you're a 10 all in.
You're a 10 all in. Yeah. You're definitely a 10 all in. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right? So, so your price has gotten bumped up.
So it was all justified.
Yeah, of course.
For sure.
There was no gripes.
I bet it wasn't.
So what'd you buy?
Oh,
so
man.
Do you have an apartment yet? Did you?
I got an apartment.
Are you still at the IG spot?
No.
You got out of there. Okay.
We out of there.
Okay.
I got an apartment 5 doors down.
Yeah. Because they know you there. Yeah, you know what I mean? That's your building too. I might as well stay.
Might as well stay. So I got, we kept it close. Like as close as we could keep it.
Did you buy anything stupid?
Yes. I bought some $500 Prada boots that I wore like twice.
Okay.
I call that stupid because
I mean,
it was just like, why did I do this?
The little sport joints that everybody had, them ones?
No, it wasn't the sports joints.
Okay,
it was like
you know which ones I'm talking about.
It was the ones that came out after those. That was like the big toe boots. Like how they wear them big shoes now?
Yeah.
It looked like those then.
It was early.
But did you feel good when you had them on?
For the first couple times, yeah, but then I didn't really care much after that.
That's all that matters. Listen,
Yeah.
it's that first.
They didn't get the
second
reaction you were looking for.
Nah,
These gonna kill him. They didn't kill y'all.
Nobody ever looked down.
And I liked my Vans and my
boots,
shell
nigga.
toes.
Yeah,
You know, I was cool with
I
that.
couldn't. And just knowing you, like the Prada boot, just
It's not me.
Donnie Scantz and the Prada boot.
Nah.
I don't know.
You ain't seen
I
a couple
tried it,
music videos,
But
you know what I mean?
I remember actually taking Ryan, I want to say it was Ryan Nooney. They took me out on Rodeo Drive when we went to got him. I was like, what y'all want to?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Shouldn't have did that either. Nonetheless.
It happens, brother. It happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
You were feeling grateful.
Feeling grateful.
Yeah.
But I still wasn't officially signed to Noontime.
Still, man, what the fuck?
And me and B Cox took a trip to New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to have meetings. And I had this Aaliyah song in my pocket. And Sony Music offered me $350,000.
Come on, 350. Come on, 350. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now we talking numbers. Yeah. We went from 30 all in to 43.
43 was 7 missing.
Yeah.
Sony Music. Now, let me tell you, there's a catch to this.
There's always a catch.
There's a catch. You know, some guys down in Noontime caught wind of those meetings.
Yeah, I bet you they did.
I know they did.
I got a phone call.
That's a Noontime record.
Oh, you gonna get a phone call?
Oh, I got a phone
You
call.
might get a visit.
It started with a phone call. Started with a phone call.
I know who
like,
they sending over there.
like, hey, so we heard you had this meeting. So look, you could take that deal if you want, but you won't have an Aaliyah record. And it could have happened like that. I mean, John Tay wrote the record, Jazzy wrote the record, Kevin played guitar on the record, fully capable of recreating it, you know. But it wasn't that I didn't want to be signed to Noontime at all. I had an opportunity to see what the value was,
Yeah.
right? My heart was definitely I wanted to be okay. I wanted to be accepted by these guys. And I wanted to be in their system because what you saw happening in that building was pure magic.
Special.
Was pure magic. But, you know, it came with a cost. It came with some sacrifices. And, you know, a lot of people don't know what those sacrifices might look like because people are so enamored when they do hear the numbers. When they do, you know, oh, you could have got 350?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but at the same rate.
At a cost.
At a cost.
But let's break this down too, right? Let's break this down. Most people think you sign publishing deals for them to actually help you get music on more projects.
That part.
You ultimately do a publishing deal because you need the bread and they're kind of a bank. The same kind of thing that these record deals.
Yep.
It's really a bank.
Right.
That doesn't mean that the people that work at these publishing companies are going to actually land you placements.
Right. Or
You'll
have
just
a system.
Or have a system to even
yeah.
put you in that will get you placed.
Right.
Right? Now they may say, what's the shit they used to send out? What's the sheet? What was it called? Who's looking?
Who's
A
Looking.
who's
Right.
looking
Gotcha.
list. You'll have that.
How
You
many
can-
times have you landed a song off of Who's Looking
None.
list?
None.
Exactly.
I've landed none of
Zero.
who's looking. So that's, you know, at the R&B Money Podcast, where we're about the information and the understanding. When you say, I could have went and done that deal, but that might have just only been for the 350.
Right. And I'd have been in limbo.
In limbo, stuck in some crazy
And that
numbers.
money would have been blown
Of course.
at that age.
With
Easy.
nobody to actually go and pitch your records, where they're not actually coming to a studio like Noontime to hear these DAT tapes that are putting you in a position to make way more than 350.
Because it's walking into that building that was just whatever. Once you walked into that building, whatever was presented to you, it just made sense.
Right. Right. You was leaving there with
You
something.
was leaving there with something.
Right. And so I mean, I made the sacrifice, but I also felt like I was paying my way up.
Of course. 100%. Yeah.
I don't know how much of my talent really spoke for it. Outside of the fact that these stars aligned for me in a way in which that allowed me an opportunity to get a Aaliyah song on the Next Friday soundtrack.
Right.
My dream was to work with Aaliyah. It felt like I manifested this some kind of way, you know, and Noontime was the catalyst to do that.
Yep.
You know, and I'm still in there, you know, grinding and really just trying to be accepted by any and everybody up in there, right? So they signed me.
We got signed, guys.
We got signed.
Hey guys,
We got signed. There's a signing.
we're official.
We're official.
We're signed, baby.
Were the numbers anywhere close?
No. And as a matter of fact, shouts out to Chris Hicks, man. Brilliant businessman.
Oh, yeah.
That number was $35,000.
It was 10% of
$350.
the other. Okay. All right.
But I got a $43,000 Aaliyah check.
Okay. So now we have
Right.
78.
If you want to add that onto it.
I
I felt like I worked for that.
I just do
We'll
math.
add it.
I just do
We'll
math.
add it.
So I
We'll
just,
add
you
it.
know, that's all.
It all counts.
I was in their studio day in and day out.
For free.
For free working.
For free.
Right. So all of these factors played into it. And of course, as a kid,
They got the record placed.
They got the record placed. You're not thinking about this stuff though as a kid,
Yeah.
you know, and you're not thinking about what they're going through on the other side of their businesses for other certain things to happen.
Right.
So I get the front half of that 35,000.
And this is an advance.
Right. This is
Let's talk about that.
Okay, it's an advance.
Right,
It has
because
to be paid back.
It got to be paid back.
But check it out. It wasn't that much to pay back.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
So you were going to be in the black very
soon.
Right. You know, if that black, you know, what that black looked like for Noontime was maybe taking out 1,000 here off of this check, you know, 2,000 here. You know, it was a process.
Yeah.
It was a process. And, you know, again, they were a production company. So knowing what I know now, again, you don't know what was going on in the back end of their business practices. But I only got paid the front half of that 35. I never got paid
There go
the
your
second.
17.5.
I never,
There go your
right.
17.5.
I never got paid the second 17.5. However, that Aaliyah check came in, that 7 Mile check came in. You know, so now as an adult, when I'm looking at certain things, it's like, you know, maybe one hand washes the other. Maybe I felt slighted then as a kid. You see what I'm saying? Maybe I felt like the outcast. Maybe I felt like Cinderella in the room because there was nothing that I was privy to until this official signing happened. Right? But what I'm thankful for is the way in which things still happened.
Okay.
Because if it happened like I wanted to happen, I wouldn't have been with you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had that opportunity to see the greatness that you were and have a part to play in the legend of who Tank was in Atlanta. Because after that, after people started hearing what we were creating, then they were like, oh my God.
More work came.
More work came. More work came.
Yeah.
And that was like the pinnacle of where our brotherhood meshed.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? And collaboration came back into the forefront for me. It was like, my goodness, now I'm creating with somebody that wants to create with me. One, you know. Two, and we're creating great music and people are liking it.
Yeah.
Right? And so that leads us to Moet.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
My gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
And being
So now
kids.
he's getting those DreamWorks checks too.
Yeah. DreamWorks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? And that's when
Drano check.
that's when I started to learn about What else had to happen?
Yeah. Come on, man. I'm gonna get you 30, but I'm gonna put it in for 35.
So now he know what happened with that extra
He know have
7.
that extra 7.
Exactly.
We spoke on it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's called a kickback.
Kick back.
So what happens is with the kickback is I'm going to invoice it for a little bit higher than what you probably would make normally.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you get it, you kick that extra back to me.
Period.
And that was an industry standard back in the day for A&Rs. It's just kind of what it was.
The way of the world.
Because they controlled the pocketbook. They controlled the, you know what I mean? Like they controlled the checkbook.
And you had to decide, how bad you wanted it.
Right.
And to me, it was always worth that sacrifice.
Always.
Right.
You need a little 5 from this
That's it.
from this 35?
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Because I usually only make 20.
You also need 15% on the pub? Absolutely, here you go.
Oh yeah, you was making it
Because I need all 7 songs on there.
Right.
All 7.
I need all 7.
Right. Well, when you were putting them out the way you knew what you were putting them out then.
Because I was cheating the game.
Yeah,
So that
7 songs.
I'm 100%er, so I'm cheating.
Right.
So to me, that math I'm doing
100
is like,
to dropping to 85 ain't really
I'm doing long-term math. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can do these all day.
all day.
Yeah, so legend has it, Shakes for Dollars came from that.
Absolutely. That shook up that shook up the world.
Man, did it.
Shakes for Dollars shook up the world.
I got it right here.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
What we gonna do?
Give me a little.
You just want to hear it off the phone?
Why not?
We got good microphones
Okay.
in here.
We got.
Okay.
You want to get a little aux going?
It's for a Tank exclusive.
Hey,
Yeah,
man.
come on, man. Give me some.
Come on, we got a Tank exclusive.
Turn up.
Yeah.
Wait, are we playing on the podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's fly. I see her on the regular. We talk on the regular. She's nice. That's what I keep telling her. Homies tell her she's the finest thing. Oh, the finest thing we've ever seen. Hope you don't have plans for the evening. Tonight it's gonna be you and me. She shakes on $1. I don't mind. I still like to holler anytime. Occupation don't bother me. Oh no, I can be the one that she dances for. She shakes $1. I don't mind. I still like to holler anytime. Occupation don't bother me. No, oh, I can be the one that she dances for. Meet me there at 1. You'll be what I'm looking for. You'll be what I'm ready for. When I close the door, put it on slow, make me $1 bills. No, I'm putting big faces in the right places. Can I take you home and keep you from freaking in these places? I don't mind, still like to holler anytime. Occupation don't bother me, no. Oh no, I can be the one that she dances. Oh, she's like I still like to holler, still like to holler. Occupation don't bother me, no. No, I can be the one that she dances for. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna let me take care of you? Oh, are you gonna take it all for your life? Are you gonna let me take you home tonight? Come on, what are you gonna do?
Watch this one. This one.
Are you gonna let me take care of you? Are you gonna let me take it all for your life? Are you gonna let me take you home tonight? She shakes $1. I don't mind. Still like to holler anytime. She don't bother me. Oh yeah. I can be the one that she did. I can be $1. I don't mind. I still like to holler anytime. I can be the one that she dances for. She shakes $1. She's a beautiful girl. I still like to holler the whole wide world. Occupation don't bother me. Yeah. I can be the one that she dances. I can be the one that she $1. I don't mind. I still like to holler anytime. Occupation don't bother me. No. Don't bother me. I can be the one that you yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been tricking for a long time, huh?
Man, I just came out the church and got right to it.
Might even been Good Friday.
One collection plate to the next, huh?
What can I say, man? I've always been a fan of
Yeah.
the ladies who
Shake for dollar.
who work hard to entertain us and hold a special place in my heart. I can't front.
So was that song for your project, or were you guys
Yeah.
just writing for people?
No, he was recording for me.
Okay.
The Black Round sent me down there to work with Noontime to get records for my album.
Okay.
Because
Noontime was up there.
Yeah, it was
Noontime
a
was-
trade.
yeah.
It was a trade off in
Yeah.
a sense. So they worked with Aaliyah and they send me to work with somebody.
Okay.
So regardless of how they saw Scantz, you know what I'm saying? It was like, okay, well, he may be our lesser producer. He can get in with him. We're gonna take the A-boys up here up top.
Yeah.
Had no idea what we was getting ready to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Had no idea. And then they come back and they're like,
But
What
it's
the
not
fuck?
just that one that came. It was Fooling Around.
yeah, fooling around. Yeah.
We went on, we did Tear Shit Up, the rock joint.
Yeah. Damn, fooling around was the one. I don't want us to be.
So did any of the records make your first album?
Nope. Like I
But
said,
none made the album.
so the relationship, like he said, the relationship between Noontime and Black Round went sour.
Because it. Okay.
And so when it went sour,
They didn't want none of it.
Nah, we don't need none of that. I was like, none of it?
Wow.
Yeah.
None?
So a lot of those records went on the, on the shop list.
Yep.
Did y'all place any of them?
I'm wrong.
I'm wrong.
Dave Hollister.
I've been so wrong. Yeah, we
Yeah.
placed that on Dave.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And Fooling Around got placed for Ideal's second album. And there was another story surrounding that how that whole situation didn't end up being fruitful. And I also think that it, hindsight, when I look at it, I made like a loyalty move that wasn't necessarily in, I guess you could say, my best interest at the time, because Noontime wanted to come back for Ideal's record and get logo credit again.
Yeah.
And this time Virgin said no. And the reason Virgin said no was because y'all only took us to gold. We had to go to someone else to go get to platinum. However, we will give you guys the same 5-song $250,000 deal
Right.
that we gave you before. And, Noontime liked to play hardball back then.
Yeah.
And hardball was really putting the records up against the deal.
Yeah.
So you either do the deal
Or no records.
or you don't get the records. And not only that, at the time, I was officially signed to Noontime.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when things started to kind of like, I want to say, damn near go south with me, because the decision that I made, because it was Ideal,
It was your family.
It was a family decision.
Yeah.
And me and B. Cox were told, and mind you, Noontime Virgin was switching regimes. Alex Mejia was no longer an A&R there. They replaced him with another A&R named Aaron Seawood. They shut down their offices in LA and they moved their offices in New York, right? So whole new energy, whole new grand scheme of things for the potential of what Ideal was gonna do. Richard Branson had so much money, he could do whatever he wanted to do, right? So it was a blessing that Noontime still had the opportunity to do the 5 songs, because the new regime was looking at Noontime like, y'all are the hit makers. However, we're not gonna do the same deal that Eric Brooks and those guys did at the California deal. And so what came back to us, and particularly me and Brian, because at this point, think Jazzy had gone on. He started doing like a 50-song deal with
Oh yeah,
Cash Money.
Yeah.
Right. You know, everybody was like doing their thing. Like people were actively coming through Noontime day in and day out. And Ideal wasn't really important to many in my eyes, except for me and Brian. And so me and Brian took the helm of submitting songs to go get this money.
Yeah.
That was in the pipeline. It was in the pipeline. We already knew it was there. You know, at this point, we knew the checks had been cut, right? But Noontime was like, if we don't get this, you and Brian can't go to New York and work with Ideal. And I'm like, what? And so it was a hard decision, but it was one that I quickly made. And I was like, fuck that. I'm going to New York. And I went, and Brian did not. And we cut fooling around. And that was the last record of this 5-song situation that would have released the money to us to get paid. But it was really a hard decision. I mean, that decision brought me to tears, actually. Especially being in Noontime and working so hard to be accepted in that environment, right? And to still have the loyalty from my guys that I had is like, I still needed to go work with my guys. And maybe, you know, hindsight, looking at it, it was a bad business decision, or maybe I should have went about it a different kind of way. But I felt like I made the decision that I made then, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's tough to question it in play. You know, hindsight, you can always do the,
Right.
you can do your due diligence and understanding maybe, how the conversation could have played out, you know what I'm saying? Or understanding just from a business standpoint, like, bro, you're a signed producer.
Right.
To a major production company. And sometimes, the imbalance is that the production company is going to make decisions that are more favorable for the production company, which hurts you in the beginning, but that hardball stance will reap its benefits somewhere later on down the line.
I could have looked at it like that, yes.
I mean, we look at it now saying that.
Right.
But you're talking about kids that came up together and there's still this emotional attachment. Like, them my niggas. I can't not
Exactly.
go.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So you can't judge that.
And
in
what
that
was
moment.
also in play at that time, it was the year 2000, and I was having my first child.
Oh, not the baby.
Right. And so coming into making those types of decisions also had to do with the potential of what I would be able to provide.
Yeah.
Right? And like during that time, there was front ends and back ends and time in between.
A lot of time in between.
It never ends.
A lot of time. Never ends.
Sometimes
Front ends and never
Front ends and never ends.
right.
Yeah.
And money being spent up and this, that, and the other.
And goosebumps.
Right. And we figuring things out.
Yeah.
But at this time, it was really, really crucial for me. It was really, really crucial for me. And so I needed to get that money released.
But you thought you were going to get the money released.
Oh, there's a story to that.
Here we go. Okay.
There's a story to that.
Okay.
Because, it's a lot to the struggles and the sacrifices to this thing that we love so much, this R&B money.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a lot of rhythm that is always celebrated, and we talked about this, but, there's also the B-side to it, the blues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, decisions and people's experiences play a part into how that all comes about. And in this particular story, like I said, me making that decision, even though I still, would be loyal to my guys to this day. These are my friends that I'm still in contact with
course.
to
Right now.
this day.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't think that I would have made a different decision, even knowing what I know now.
Yeah.
Right? But considering that I made that decision then, right? And it was the culmination of completion for them to have an opportunity to have a second album, to even just have an opportunity. And me and Brian did all of it. I produced 2 songs, he produced 2 songs, and we produced 1 song together. Right? That was the 5 songs, right? That Noontime could have contributed on Ideal's second record. And so because Noontime didn't want to pursue the relationship in that fashion, it was going to be a wash, and that was a threat to my guys too.
In their deal, in their second
And their
album.
deal,
yeah, the whole
and their
thing.
second album, and all of that. And all of it weighed really, really heavy, especially knowing that there was money in the pipeline to be collected. Even if it was a front half that had already been paid, it was still money in the pipeline to be collected. And I felt like I had to do all that I could to make it a reality, not only for my guys, but also for myself. Because again, having my first child at that point, and then being in a relationship that I was in, it wasn't, I needed to make sure that I could
Provide. Yeah.
So I took it upon myself. I had a relationship with the A&R. What was told to me from Noontime was that in order for us to release this money, we need a virgin letterhead saying what songs they want to complete. And maybe Noontime didn't feel as if I can go get that. I went and got it. I went and got it. Got a letterhead from Virgin that said, we officially want these 5 songs so y'all could release this money, right? And Noontime was working on Jim Crow at the time. They was like really getting their production company label thing off. So they was getting money thrown at them from everywhere. Right? I think they had a deal with Atlantic at the time, just moved into like new office buildings.
The $250 meant nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Meant nothing. But it meant everything to me at the time. And Jim Crow had an album release party. And I remember walking up and handing them this letterhead. Like, here go that letterhead from Virgin you was asking for. I'm going to see y'all next week. Okay. Cool. There's like, that's how you want to play it? We'll just go ahead and recoup everything you owe us right now out of this whole check. And my check that they gave me for my Ideal songs was $1,500. Crickets, right? Brian got his check too. I'm sure it didn't look like mine, but it was an experience for me that made me feel the lowest that I could ever feel. And the contributions and the decision that I made, thinking that I was loyal to my family, right? And at that point, I think that everything with me and my relationship, even though I was still signed to them, it kind of went downhill. It was still me coming around. It was still, me getting to work, doing the work that I was doing, but it was really a wrap. And so I was still working, still discovering new talent. And next thing you know, I think Absolute ends up getting dropped. Jazzy was an artist on Atlantic for a minute. All of this was coming through the Noontime system. Noontime's relationship didn't necessarily work out with Atlantic the way it needed to work out. And things were back to the drawing board, for a lot of people in the system. And it leads this story down a long path of me being back in isolation in Atlanta, like how I felt when I had first gotten there.
Yeah.
And it was something that, just looking back on it, it was very mentally like taxing, you know, not knowing where you stood with certain people, still hoping that, you know, that they would want to mess with you in some kind of way, you know, but everybody was kind of doing their own things too at that point, right? So after the Atlanta situation, I think Ryan had started Ryan Kenny with Kenny Burns, and they were doing the clothing thing. Noonie started Orca Records, which was the Interscope offshoot that ended up, you know, Jim Crow ended up getting another deal with Interscope. And Chris went on to work with Warner Chappell. And we were all signed to Warner at that point. You know, I did get my Warner Chappell publishing check. Like, you know, as far as the value of what everybody's stock was, we got what we were going to get according to being signed to Noontime. But I felt like I didn't have any representation. There was no it was like I was DC. Taxation with no representation. And I was on my own. But I wasn't like a nobody on my own. I still had hit records. I still was doing things in the streets of Atlanta with creative people, right? And coming out of Ideal's situation, there was another interest in me that was sparked from a relationship with the Alliance at the time. Alliance was a company out of St. Louis, right? And they managed Nelly, Cedric the Entertainer, a bunch of football players. It was a big conglomerate of a bunch of rich dudes out of St. Louis, right? And my cousin Pete had set that up. So even though I was still signed to Noontime, I was still moving around with some potential, right? And, you know, at this point, yeah, Cox is probably producing.
Ain't no telling.
Ain't no telling at this point. He's
Gone.
off to the races, right? And in Atlanta, I really felt like a fish out of water. But having those guys, for the time period that I had them, afforded me the opportunity to get my own room. And so I got my own room in Zach Studios after that. And in Zach, it was a time where I felt like everything was of urgency for me. Because, you know, I had my child in the world at this point, you know, and because things were so inconsistent for me at that time, you know, it wasn't the best relationship with my son's mother. I didn't have the ability to provide as consistently and as good as I should have at that point, you know, but I was working my ass off. So I named my production company State of Emergency at this point. State of Emergency. State of Emergency was the angst of everything that was going on with me in Atlanta at that point. And I started putting rock guitars in everything. And I started like really just, you know, utilizing my creative community as much as I could of people who really wanted to work with me at that point. And so I had guys like Chris Dave in the studio with me. I had guys like PJ Morton in the studio playing on tracks. And, you know, PJ will attest to it himself. Like he used to come into the studio with me and play on keys, and he attributes me to teaching him how to make beats and things of that such, like out of his own mouth. And this was a whole nother learning process, but I wanted to create this band, State of Emergency, right? And State of Emergency was a collaborative effort that I felt like sustained me, you know, creatively. It didn't necessarily sustain me financially, but it gave me the opportunity to outpour whatever talent I had to anyone else.
And you had a very talented young lady that was a part of State of Emergency.
Whew. Yeah.
Yeah. I know this.
Oh.
Yeah.
And when we get to that part of it, it's interesting too, because this story, I don't know how long we got, but what time is it? At the same rate, to move this thing on quicker, I was in Zach's studios for some years. And and there was this producer, well, he was a rapper at first. And it was somebody that I saw a talent in that was remarkable because I saw the work that he did with Jim Crow. And I'm like, bro, you're really producing. But he didn't necessarily know how to navigate the equipment, right? But he would move around between me or between B. Cox or between whoever he could to learn how to work this equipment, right? And coming out of their situation, he was like, I really want to I want to take my shot at this production thing. And so I was like, okay, cool. And we did this thing out of my apartment, right? And he would bring street dudes through the crib and, rent would get paid, you know what I'm saying? Things would come through. And, it was a cool little relationship for that process. But I still had my own thing going on because I felt like State of Emergency was something that had these legs to it, that had these artists that people needed to see, because she wasn't the only one that we backed. Jay Holiday was the first one too. Right? And because I had a strong relationship with CSAC, shout out to CSAC, shout out to Trevor Gale in CSAC, because he created an opportunity for us to sign new and up-and-coming writers to CSAC, and they created a program where they gave us a monthly stipend.
Gotcha.
Right? So, okay, cool. Now, to these new writers who would come through, I'd introduce them to CSAC. If they were interested in signing up to CSAC, that was a plus on, on what we brought to the table. So it was a little bit of flow coming through. And I had my room at Zach, and once that dried up, because there was a period of time when it did, right? That's when Shakir Stewart offered me the room in Hitco. And it was a closet. But during that time, State of Emergency was having opportunities from CSAC. CSAC was about to put their offices in Atlanta, right? CSAC didn't have any offices in Atlanta at the time, right? And they wanted to give me the job of being the CSAC rep in Atlanta. But for some reason, I didn't want to take that job because they told me that it would be more of a corporate type of scenario, and I would have to really put some attention into that side of the business. And I'm still...
You're producing.
I'm still producing.
You're on the creative side, yeah.
So during this process, I was building up State of Emergency, and CSAC dropped like 25 grand to have their opening party in Atlanta. And they wanted State of Emergency to be the band of this performance. And I got to choose the artist that would be on this stage, right? And it was at Club 1150, and literally all of Atlanta came out. It was packed house. One artist that was on that stage was Jay Holiday. Another artist that we performed on, which happened to be like the headlining artist that we performed with, was Leela James. All right. And Chris Dave was on drums. Shout out to John tracks on guitar. It was a remarkable situation. It was like we was a 1,500 and nothing in Atlanta. Right? And it felt good because we was getting some traction, and we were making some records, and we had this one front person that I put a lot of energy into. And her name was Keri Hilson.
Yeah.
And she was my lead of State of Emergency. And, watching Keri's interviews, it was just kind of like, things weren't so random You know, they were very like intentional on my part when it came to her specifically. And this was the first time that I think anybody had seen her on a stage in Atlanta. First time anybody would have seen Jay Holiday on stage in Atlanta. And the type of music that was behind them.
Right.
This was real intentional music, like real musicians playing on these tracks. Like at this point, pulling from the Donnie from Houston, that all I had was my spirit of collaboration at that point, you know, and I took up engineering, right? Because I wanted to learn all the technical aspects of it. So I was a damn good engineer too, as well. Mixing my own stuff, all of the above. So people heard these and they was like, yeah, these records, they can't go nowhere but for these artists. So we weren't shopping any records. Like I wasn't trying to shop these songs. I was trying to make this a group, a thing. And so at the same time, I was working with this producer who was a rapper at first. His name is Polo the Don, right? And of course, like we were doing some side projects. We would do, you know, there was this group called the Little Rascals, I remember. We did a song on Will Smith. But one thing that came out of my relationship with Polo was Pimpin' All Over the World.
Yeah.
Right? So Ludacris hit record Pimpin' All Over the World. And to add some clarity, because I think in Keri's interview, she said that she cut that record in Atlanta. She actually cut that record in Los Angeles. It was on a trip that me, Polo, Rich Boy, and Keri took to LA. And we worked in Ron Fair's studio. And we created that track there. And she sang the hook. Polo wrote the hook. And we had the track. And Polo came with the brilliant idea that this should go to Ludacris, right? This trip was us as a unit at this point. This was us as a unit. I think because I had the band State of Emergency and I called my production company State of Emergency, me and Polo had one little debate that was like, well, I'm gonna call my shit Zone 4. And I'm like, okay, I'm in Atlanta. I don't have no problem with that. Like, if this was the Neptunes, right? You could be Pharrell, I'll be Chad. You know, that's fine. And we were a unit. At least in my eyes, we were a unit. Right? And so when it came to certain things that were, because Polo he was very charismatic in making relationships. So when the Jim Crow thing fizzled with Interscope, he was able to secure his relationship, his management relationship with DJ.
For DJ.
And that was a very beneficial relationship because it allowed access still. We still had access.
Yeah.
And I'm using the term we very loosely at this point because in my mind,
You got the production team together.
yeah. So we got a unit and I got all these great records with Keri and State of Emergency. We just came off of getting Jay Holiday into his situation, and I produced like 4 or 5 songs on, you know, his first and second album. Like, so it was like, okay, I couldn't necessarily tie us into the business of Jay Holiday, but the band was going on the road with him. Like, we had Tony Royster playing on drums. Like, it was like it was like a real outfit that was really happening. And it just got to a point to where it was now State of Emergency was really my thing. And I felt like if this production company was going to be our thing, then it could benefit all of us the same kind of way. And yeah, it was a little triggering watching the recollection of how the story was told, because nobody's really going to tell your story the way in which
You are.
You're going to tell it. And, that's why I just have to offer the opportunity for the clarification for certain things to be there, especially with my relationship with Keri to speak, because a lot of things didn't happen as randomly as she recalled them. Granted, I think that she had it all planned out in her mind, the way in which she described it, from, not necessarily wanting to be in those girl groups that she was in and all of those things. And Anthony Dent actually brought Keri to me, right? Keri was running around the streets of Atlanta doing the things that she was. She was a very talented songwriter. Everybody knew it. But Keri really wanted to be a solo artist. And that's the interest that I took in her, is I want to make you the front of you having your own lane, and we're doing this crazy sounding music that I think is yours. So, it came out, that there were certain things that happened between me and Polo that didn't necessarily work out the way in which I thought it should work out. But there was a relationship he developed with Keri where, and Keri recalls it in her meeting with Timbaland, about how she was approached and talked about what producer would get your music, right? And I think she tried to recall whether or not me or Polo had said that. I wouldn't have never said that, because I got Keri's music. I understood what it was. I understood who she was as an artist. At least I thought I did at that time. And the introduction to Timbaland came into play. And that was a relationship that Polo had. And so again, I wasn't necessarily privy to how all of that transpired within that, but I did get a call because there were demos that were being played in the Four Seasons Hotel. And I don't know if Keri recalls, but I was also in that meeting. I was in that Four Seasons meeting with Timbaland, and I got the call from Polo. Hey, Timbaland is hearing these songs y'all did. Why don't you bring the files down to that Strange Angel joint? Because I think Timbaland want to put his hands on it. Now me, I'm like, oh my God. Timbaland likes my shit?
Right.
Right, this is one of my favorite producers ever. Right, enamored by the opportunity. Right, and even though, me and Polo had some differences that were going on during the constructs of what he was building with DJ, I was still happy to be able to not only see him flourish, but to see an opportunity happen for Keri to flourish too. And it was just, it was something that I wasn't gonna say no to.
Right.
So of course I went
With your files.
went with the files, went down to the meeting. I had my boy DJ Rogers with me. Right?
Yeah.
And this was a random phone call, just as random as Keri said she had gotten a phone call that morning, or when she, had her Beats braids in, or however, right? I got that same call, and I rushed down to the Four Seasons to have a meeting with Timbaland and Polo and Keri. But they were there before I got there. And I'm not sure what was said in the room before I got there. But when I walked into the room, I was introduced as Polo's engineer. And I was like, oh, okay. There's a different dynamic playing here now. It totally threw me off guard. And because I had the opportunity to meet Timbaland, I wanted to,
You want to fit in wherever you could.
you know, I wanted to meet my idol on a level that
positive. You ain't want to start no shit.
right. But at the same rate, you know, it wasn't like I was just Polo's engineer at that time. And I don't know what the agenda was specifically, but I still wanted to play whatever part that needed to be played for that scenario to go the way it went. But nobody's going to speak for you the way that you're going to speak for you.
Of course.
And I had never had anyone speak up for me in any situation. And so in that situation, I felt like it was necessary for me to say, you know, hey, those records y'all listening to, I produced those records.
Yeah.
Right? And I also produced Aaliyah, I Don't Want Her. I do not know how that rubbed on Timbaland. Because he's like, so what? At that point. And I didn't feel like it was well received. And it was just like another gut punch for me. Just meeting my idol in this type of fashion. But he's loving my records. So it's like, it's a high and a low. So I'm sitting in this meeting and I'm hearing them talk around these records. And Timbaland's like, yeah, Keri, that's Strange Angel. That's your Cry Me a River. Everything Keri said. I'm like, yes. In my mind, like, oh my God, Timbaland can't lift a finger to this guy, but he's fucking with my shit.
Yeah.
Right? So, the end of the meeting comes. Timbaland's like, I want y'all to come to Miami tomorrow. And he's looking at Keri and Polo, and we're gonna do this record, Strange Angel. And I'm like, oh, word? So I raised my hand like I'm in class.
Literally, raise your hand.
Literally, like, why the fuck am I raising my hand? But I'm like, hey guys, like, since you guys are gonna go do my record in Miami, you think I could come along too? Right? Timbaland looks at Polo, and then Keri daps them up and walks out the room.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, wow. Wow. How do you think I felt? Right, you could imagine. So, long story short of that scenario, that didn't really come off well, you know, between whatever was going to be left of my creative relationship with this unit. And this was another low for me, right? So we're talking about R&B money, right?
Yeah.
It ain't always the highs.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not always the highs. And so, you know, and you could just think of the mental load that could have taken on someone. And DJ was there. He saw the whole thing happen, right? And Keri was silent the whole time. And it just hurt me that she was silent. It just hurt me to the core. So I remember I sent Keri a long message. I sent Polo a long message. Skytel 2 Ways, I think, was in existence. Right. And basically, that was it. But I did get a phone call from Miami, from Keri. I don't know if she remembers this either. And I think Timbaland, it came around to the point of saying, hey, them state of emergency guys you was working with, why don't we bring them down to Miami, let them play on some stuff. But they had already done Strange Angel. They had already redid it. Keri came back to Atlanta, played it for me. It was banging, amazing, right? Like, come on, it's a Timbaland beat. So I'm like, that's dope. It's a dope remix of what we had already came with. I got those records too, if you want to hear them. But nonetheless, the beauty of it was in that phone call, I felt like I had to regain whatever power that I could.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told her, I was like, if we can come down there and co-produce on them records, just like how he does with the other co-producers that he currently works with, specifically for you, like, yeah, I think my guys would all be for it. And this was a collaborative effort, so it wasn't just me. State of Emergency was not just me.
Mm-hmm.
It was John tracks on guitar, Chris Dave on drums. This was like my creative community. And so they wanted to hear back from me positive news that we could do this. And it just didn't come out like that. After I told Keri that on the phone, I never got that phone call back. And so the next thing that happened is I think Keri had a first single come out. And it was The Way I Are. And now I'm making up all kind of scenarios in my mind. I'm like, come on, man. Like, you know, Timbaland is like my favorite producer of all time. Like, there's no way, like, I can't hold a finger to him for nothing. You know, so, but I listened to this record, and on the beginning of the record, I hear Timbaland say in an ominous voice, "State of emergency." Now, I don't know why he said that, but I'm making up in my mind like, wow, why would he say that? And I'm like, I just had all these kind of scenarios running around in my mind.
I can imagine.
Like, why would he say that?
I can imagine.
You know, so just another gut punch. And I'm like, Timbaland don't need to be gut punching me, man, not me. Like, who am I? I have not even the minuscule amount of hit records to even match up to this guy's stature. And all the records that he's coming out with is crazy. The single that he came out with Keri, crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. But just, it goes to show when the mental starts getting messed with, where your mind could really go.
Hell
into
of a
the
rabbit
dark.
hole.
Yeah.
You start connecting things that may not even
that
be
might,
connectable.
that might not
Right.
even be relevant.
Well.
And I was on a downward spiral at that point of being in my time in Atlanta, right? And I think I had to move. And that's when I left. I moved back to LA for the first time. And maybe there was some years and stuff in between that, but we missed a whole lot of success stories. Like even being in Hitco at that time, had an opportunity to engineer flew to LA, cut Usher's vocals, got Grammy nominated for that.
So you're the actual engineer for Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's the engineer for you?
Read the credits.
You're the engineer for you.
Read the credits.
Okay.
Hey, man.
It's a muddy business. It's a muddy business.
All I gotta say is read the credits.
No, for sure.
I don't know who said what.
Yeah.
You know, but it's in
Donnie
the credits.
Scantz
Yeah.
is the engineer for you.
Cut the demo and the song at Larrabee out here in LA. Dialed his vocals in. Did all of those
You
things.
cut him.
I got the picture. I got all the receipts.
Nigga said receipt.
They got a receipt.
Oh, shit.
They got a receipt for that.
Oh, shit. Where'd it go?
That's me, Sean Garrett, Lil Jon, and Usher. We were the only four in the studio here in LA. That doesn't take away what JQ's contribution to it was.
Yeah.
It didn't take away the night, you know, Keri and I were in the studio working on Keri stuff, and, you know, Sean Garrett brings out the Lil Jon CD, and they end up writing Red Light together on Confessions as well, which was the bonus track. So there was a lot of opportunity and a lot of time that created a lot of plays.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, from that, there was a lot of positive things that happened, and there was a lot of things that weren't necessarily perceived as positive for me. And that's just the side that I would like your audience to understand, that there's ebbs and flows in this thing. And you really have to be on top of your decision-making skills and your ability to represent yourself certain kinds of ways so that, you could, thrive.
So looking back on it and looking back on some of these instances, do you feel as if you should have done a little more music business?
Definitely. I take full responsibility for not doing the business the way in which the business was being done then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Now, maybe I didn't have the resources. I do remember going to DJ and asking DJ, can you please also manage me too? He said yes. But then there was I might not can do this.
Conflict of interest.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder where that conflict of interest was. Rich Boy started in my apartment. Keri started with the whole culmination of the thing. There was a relationship there that was fractured, and I didn't know how to manage that.
Yeah.
Just honestly speaking, I didn't know how to manage that.
Yeah.
And that was something that I have to take to the chin. And I think that, even throughout time, Polo and I still work together after that.
Right.
I ended up mixing the whole Lloyd King of Hearts album. I ended up actually really becoming Polo's engineer at one point. If you really want to just look at it hindsight 2020, and we made good money off of that.
Yeah.
But at that point, it was a decision of me whether or not I'd be staying in Atlanta or if I'd stay in LA. Polo was living in LA at that time. I was out here doing my own thing. I ended up getting introduced to this unknown artist at the time who was on a reality show on BET, who nobody knew what to do with, by Shani Gonzalez. Shout out to Shani Gonzalez, because all of these are lifelines during times where it was like, what the fuck is going on with you, Donnie?
Yeah. Right.
Right? Shani Gonzalez threw me a lifeline and introduced me to this artist named Miguel.
Right.
So next thing you know, I'm basically doing the same kind of state of emergency-esque type stuff with Miguel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm bigging him up because our collaborative relationship is just as strong.
Right.
So he ends up getting his situation with Jive, and he doubles back and gets 3 joints from your boy.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
and I had an opportunity in his start. And it was a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
All of these relationships turned into a blessing one way or the other.
Right.
And
The gifts will sustain you.
right.
Yeah.
And I am gracious for the learning experience and the time that I had, because at that point you got to remember we were all young too, and so you don't know why people make certain decisions that they make when they make them, right? And so I don't hold any ill heart to the things that occurred now as a 47-year-old adult.
Mm-hmm.
I might have then, but looking at it now, I am gracious that I had an opportunity to support these great talents the way in which I supported them.
There are, I could say, millions of unpopular decisions that were the difference in people having a career or not having a career.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And, you can dig into the nuance of loyalty or, any of the words we can throw out there in terms of the connective tissues that you had to said situation or people at a time when that crossroad came.
Yeah.
And then you had to figure out what that loyalty would be worth on the other side of making or not making that decision.
Right.
That's tough.
it's
That's tough. That's tough. No, you don't know, because you can also in hindsight say, oh, well, I should have signed such and such.
Right.
Well, maybe if you signed them, they don't get to where they were going.
Yeah,
Like I've had situations where I've literally told very, very popular artists that are very popular right now, I can't work with you. I believe that you're going to be a superstar. Multiple artists that I've told that, because I just knew that I couldn't give them the time and effort that they needed. And I, in turn, would have been getting in the way.
Right.
Because some of us are there for certain reasons and certain things and certain,
certain seasons.
and the time and love that we pour into that in that space is just for that time.
Yeah, and it's necessary.
Yeah.
There's growth in that gets them and you to
And
wherever you guys end up. Yeah,
These artists, we're still super cool, and
Right. And by no means do I feel, I mean, at that point, I probably felt like the ultimate
you felt
failure.
the way, yeah.
but no, even
But-
decisions you had to make for yourself.
Right.
Where it's
There's
like
a lot of factors.
shit. But I always scream par for the course, because
Yeah.
this shit is not easy.
no.
It is not for the weak or the faint of heart, and it takes its toll. It's supposed to.
But I encourage all your listeners to take a time for their mental health. Find
That's what I was getting ready to get to.
Okay. Go ahead.
That it takes a toll
Yeah.
on here and here, and you'll find yourself questioning why. Why am I even going through all of this? What is my purpose? What is if this is where I end up? And you can't see the other side of that thing. Like, you have to dig deep into trying to be resilient and trying to be dedicated to just the love of it. 'Cause
Yeah, and that's what it
it'll beat
was.
it
for
out
me.
of you.
It was just so much love. It was love for Polo.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
love for Keri.
Yeah.
It was love for the creations of what we were able to do, because you have seen the products of it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Polo put me behind the mic on the Rich Boy album.
Yeah.
Saying an ad-lib part for one of his songs, and that was the first time I heard my voice back. We ended up doing Barbershop 2 soundtrack, or maybe Barbershop 3, but we redid Fallen for Maya. We did some Will Smith, a Will Smith joint. Like, there were some things that came out of that were definitely notable.
Yeah.
And big ups to Polo for all of that. And, we're 47 years old now. Like, we can look back on things and, and I think that he also, we talked about this. None of what I'm talking about now, we have not talked about as an adult.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we're all here. However, it would be nice to hear from some of these people. Haven't heard from a lot of them, but there's still mutual love and respect there.
Yeah. And that's all it is. Like, at the end of the day, it's just when you go through all of this shit, you try not to, come out too scraped up, too scarred up.
Yeah.
To where
try not to put a bullet in your head.
it's right.
At the end of the day.
To where,
That's
you can't-
real.
You can't recover.
Right.
And, you gotta, again, you gotta dial back into your why.
Yeah.
And it's got to be centered around you.
And it's important too that we continue to tap in with people the way we would like for them to tap in with us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it may not be the exact people you wanted to tap in with,
But it's the practice
but
itself.
It's the practice itself where, and it's something for me that I've always practiced. If I fuck with you, you're going to hear from me at some point. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of this is a big industry. People act like it's really small, but it's big in the scheme of the coming and going.
Coming and going. Yeah.
It's a lot of people who've been in or out or stayed in or was out for a minute and this whole thing. And I try to make sure that, it's people that I've seen, done business with, maybe never wrote a song with, but I just like them as people.
right.
That when I see them, I'm showing love.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it's always been.
You know what I mean?
Here.
No, technically, because I mean, like, technically, you guys have worked together.
Yeah.
We've never technically worked
Never.
together.
Never, but it's
Always been my friend, though.
Always been.
You know what I'm
love and
saying? Like,
respect.
it's like, oh, no. Donnie Scantz. I fuck with him. And like, oh, what y'all done? We actually haven't done anything. But
Right. That's my guy.
that's my guy. And
Yeah.
if he's in a room and I see him or he sees me, I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
I got to go say what's up to the homie real quick.
But
I'm
even
gonna meet
that-
his son and I'm going to be, you know what I'm saying? Like,
That
this is a
shines
part
even
of
from
it.
your mentorship, even from like Shake. I wasn't signed to Hitco.
Right.
I had no business in that Hitco office
Right.
at all.
Right.
And he was like, come set up shop over here.
Yeah.
I believe in what you got going on,
Right.
whatever it is.
He saw the value in you.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right. And you could come in and make sure that our writers is straight
Yeah.
because you're a dope engineer.
Because I feel like that's how I met you. I met you through Shake. If I can recall, you know what I mean?
Being in that building.
Yeah, I was never signed to Hitco, but Shake was my OG. He's from the Bay. So he introduced me to a lot of the young music people in Atlanta whenever I would fly out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I've always kept those relationships. And
Shout out to Shake, boy.
man, shout out to Shake, bro. Shout out to Shake. He was one of the last of the Mohicans, of like the real,
Believe it.
not even just he was a superstar A&R. He was a superstar A&R. People wanted to give him music. People wanted to get on projects that he was A&Ring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but going back to what we were saying as far as, you know, just the mental health side of it, I think that we should even do even more is just checking on people.
Yeah, and that's where
Just
I'm
checking
at
on
with it
people.
now. I've done a lot. You know what I mean? I have a beautiful family. Like I look at the potential of if certain things would have went a certain kind of way, where would my life be today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And don't get it twisted. I love my life.
Yeah.
Right? I have my son graduated from Northwestern.
Nice.
He's up there making big money working for Microsoft.
Yeah.
Right?
Let me hold some.
Pray for our
Let your daddy
relationship.
hold some.
Pray for our relationship. It's still, you know, a little rocky. But I have a 2-year-old daughter. I have a beautiful wife.
Oh, you still doing it? Okay.
Oh yeah, we here.
You still moving back and forth. Okay.
He's a yogi now.
Yeah.
He's a
I
yogi now.
have a 5-year-old, you know, like I have a beautiful familial experience living here in Los Angeles. And you know, shouts out to Ivory because she brought the yoga into my life. She brought the mental health side of things into making sure that you check up on yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's very important, and I didn't have that type of guidance anywhere else. You know, I do want to give a shout out to No ID too, because he was a safe haven in all of this. Because I had an opportunity to build with him for about a year, 2 years, and we did some great work. Ended up on Rihanna Records with him. Ended up on doing a whole Cocaine 80s project with him with James Fauntleroy and the guys out here.
Yeah.
Doubling back to B. Cox. B. Cox has always been a lifeline.
Yeah.
You know, ended up on 2 Chris Brown records. So, like, work was still being done.
Yeah.
Hit records was still being made, regardless of all of those things. And I can say that I've lived out every single dream that I've had. I ended up, you know, through Noontime and through some of the Terry Ross, the manager, I was MDing for LaToya Luckett at the time, MDing for Jay Holiday, you know, just doing some stuff that I always wanted to do as a kid with Ideal. I wanted to go on the road and be in a band. We did those things. And so, you know, and we're still out here doing them.
Nice,
And it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And that's if we take anything from it, it's like with all the highs and with all the lows, man, just keep working.
And that's the love is R&B Money.
Yeah. Just keep working, man.
Yeah.
The work will do the rest. Keep working. Keep loving it.
Exactly.
Like, and
You
it's
gotta love yourself,
It's
though.
a choice you got to make, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, like, and when I say it, I mean it that is in you, right? Because as we are creative, this is just personal.
Exactly.
This shit is like breathing. This is bleeding. This is blood that runs through our fucking veins. So
And blood, sweat, and tears comes
It's-
from it all.
as you love it, the operative word is loving you. Keep loving it and keep doing the work. It'll as Jay said, make all the room for you. And at the end of the day, it makes all the difference.
And it has made all the room.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
It has made all
Come
the
on,
room.
man.
Nah, you've had and you have an amazing career, bro.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's still going.
It's still going. Yeah.
Hey, what you got over there,
I'll
champ?
just tap into my, to my talented mind. We got talented people here today. You
We
know
do,
what I'm
man. He brought a camera with him.
Yeah.
Like, it's-
Do a few things.
yeah.
He talking about going on the road. I went on the road as a musician. You know, I went on the road as a background singer. That was my dream. You know, to be an MD. Brother Donnie Scantz.
Yes, sir.
You've been doing music a real long time.
Long time.
You know a lot of things about music. And all of your journeys of making music. You've been inspired by a lot of music. Today, the R&B Money Podcast would like to inquire
What you want to know?
about your musical knowledge, your musical information,
Uh-oh.
the music that makes sense to you, that touches your heart, your top 5.
Yeah.
Your top 5. Top 5. Your top 5. R&B singers. R&B songs. We know you know. We know you wrote engineer too. But we want to see what's your top 5. Yes. Yes. Rawr. Yeah. Top 5.
Man, this guy.
Your top 5.
This nigga's performed that 90 different times, 90 different ways. This is insane, bro.
Never gets old.
This is great.
I enjoy this.
I enjoy it.
Donnie Scantz.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Scantana.
Yeah. That was one of them.
Come on, man. Top 5 R&B singers.
Living Undead,
Your world. You call it.
Marvin Gaye,
Yes, my friend.
Donny Hathaway.
Why not?
I mean, you can't leave out Stevie Wonder.
You better not. You better not. You're going down that road now.
But I'm going to add some new guys up in there, too. I'm really messing with Dixon.
Shut the building down at the R&B Money Live.
Hey, he went crazy.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dixon.
So, yeah, put him on there.
He acting up.
Y'all need to go listen to that.
Yeah,
boy.
man, you do.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
special.
you do.
Okay. And I'm going to just throw a left curveball. Because I need to put, you said R&B singers.
This your world. Whatever. Go crazy.
This young girl, Malaya, are y'all familiar with her?
No.
I'm not.
Y'all need to check her out. She's on Keon Harold's new album, Foreverland. Y'all should definitely check him out. Robert.
Malaya.
Yeah, her
Malaya.
name is Malaya.
Malaya, we shall do that.
Yeah.
My goodness.
The R&B Money community will do that.
So I gave y'all 3 classics, and I gave y'all some research.
I like it.
Because a lot of people say that there aren't really many good singers
shit.
these days.
That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie.
So I want to give it up to the new cats on the block that's really doing it for R&B music.
Yeah.
I love that.
And Malaya, she's a female. I got to put a female up in there.
Okay, we're gonna check Malaya out.
And my man Dixon.
Dixon's monster. He showed out the other night. Oh, he acted up. He never took his coat off either.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
I'm glad y'all feel the same way about him that I do.
No, we love him.
Because I'm a fan.
Yeah. Top 5 R&B songs, son.
Sparrow by Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
That's interesting.
You know that one?
No.
It was on the Hear My Dear album.
Oh, I know it.
Okay.
The very personal album.
I have that.
Very personal one. That's always going to be a quick one to go to. I am going to go with Jodeci. Love You for Life. Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
Yes, it's one of them.
Yeah.
It's one of them.
What a song. I know where I was when I heard that.
Yeah. I didn't think about the songs before I got here.
We got you.
Because there's so many songs. But I'm going to go with Aaliyah, I Don't Want Her.
Ooh.
Why would you not?
That's fire, by the way.
Yeah, shouts out to Jonte Austin
you know.
and Jazzy
Amazing
Faye.
record.
Amazing.
And again, thank you to Chris Hicks for making that play happen.
Yeah.
I Belong to You, Lenny Kravitz.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Very special record.
Oh my
Lenny
goodness.
don't get enough R&B credit.
Lenny don't get enough R&B credit,
bro. Lenny is R&B.
He's R&B.
Man,
He's
Lenny
an R&B rock
dog.
star. He's an R&B rock star.
Man, Lenny, man. Ain't nobody fucking with Lenny, man. I love Lenny Kravitz, bro.
Man, and I'm not even going to lie. What B. Cox and them did with Made for Me, with Money Long, I'm not going to put my peoples up in that piece.
Guys in there.
Yeah.
You gotta put the,
Special record.
yeah, you gotta put the guys.
And their release of that, the BET version of it,
Yeah.
I know they cooking. They cooking.
Having a
They
good time.
cooking.
yeah.
Having a good time.
So those are the 5 that I'm going to go with today. They might change tomorrow.
They might change
you
when
asked
you
me
leave.
today.
Yeah. Change after your next sip. I know. I know how it go.
Yeah.
All right, Scantz. My brother Scantz. We're gonna create your super R&B artists. We call this the Voltron. Super R&B artists. Where you're gonna get the vocal from, the performance style, the styling, and the passion of the artist. For you, my good friend, we want to know who also is going to produce for this artist. Let's start with the vocal. Who are you getting the vocal from to create your super R&B artists?
Layla Hathaway.
Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah,
What a voice.
for sure.
Wow.
What's the next part?
Wow. Okay, that's how you feel. Okay, okay.
That was easy.
You acting different today. The performance style on stage.
Tina Turner.
Shit.
Yeah. Leg kicks. Hey, niggas don't do enough leg kicks no
Stand
more.
by.
I need some niggas to do
Tina
some more
Turner.
leg kicks, man.
Hey, listen.
Man.
They be so scared to fall now.
Tina Turner sweated that thing out.
Man.
The cameras, we talked about this. The cameras are fucking up the performance. These camera phones, because people are scared to lose themselves within the music.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Because they don't want to mess up.
Yeah.
They don't want to fall. They know it's going to go viral.
Yeah, but
Not Tina.
Not Tina.
Tina. Oh, she was
she gonna leave it all on the table.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think she's like the equivalent. I think her and James
Brown.
Those are the parallels of like everything you got every night.
Every night.
I used to watch the OJs, bro.
Sweat all the whole
Sweat
suit
the
out.
whole vest, everything.
Yeah. Charlie Wilson.
Man,
Sweat it out.
Sweat out.
I got to get back to sweating.
Well, you be stripping, so.
I kind of cool down a little bit.
Keep your clothes on.
I'm gonna get back to sweating. Don't worry, the sweat is coming.
The sweat is coming.
it's
No
coming
pun
on that fitness
On
podcast.
the
you
R&B
about to
Money,
do.
on the R&B Money tour, the sweat is coming. Okay, the styling of the artist, the drip.
Who gonna buy them Prada boots and get on stage? What you talking about earlier?
Right. Oh my God.
Prada boots.
The drip of the artist.
Yeah.
That's a good question, man. That's a hard one.
You
Who do
obviously
you
creating a
see and be
woman.
like, you know what? That could be
that's
me
it.
if I'm gonna jump on
But
stage.
it seemed like he's creating a woman right now.
Yeah, that's kind
Because
of
he
hard.
went Layla and then he went
Tina
Tina.
Turner.
Well, one thing, I think women need to be represented.
Mhm. Talk to talk.
Yes, they do.
Talk to talk. I mean, they dominating right now, but go ahead. Give them more.
So, it's a drip. Can y'all help me out with that one a little bit? Give me some examples.
I mean, right now, if you're talking custom, you're talking Beyonce. Ain't no.
She's at the top of that drip game.
Ain't no better.
I'm gonna rock with that. She's from Houston.
I mean, come on. Now.
I'm gonna rock with that.
Yeah, she ain't nobody.
I'm rocking with Beyonce.
You got Layla Hathaway voice, Tina Turner on the dance moves. You got Beyonce on the drip.
Yes,
Who
absolutely.
you got on the passion of the artist, the heart of the artist? Who mean it?
Nina Simone.
Ah.
Yeah.
I hope there's a young lady out there that's studying this man's
Man, he
breakdown of what an artist is, because you can become these things if you go study these artists.
Nina Simone for
he
sure.
acting up. Yeah, he's using his talented mind right now.
I think he's always used the talented mind.
I wish we had some A&Rs that would think like that.
Man.
I mean, we got to start but
One day.
this is a conversation that I had with a very high level executive, someone who can actually hire these people. What they told me is that there aren't enough creatives throwing their names in the hat, one, and who are truly willing to become executives and not just only be creatives, meaning they're going to show up on time.
Understood.
They're going to actually do the work other than just be creative, right? Because listen,
It's different.
I don't think people know how many fights I have behind closed doors because I've sat on both sides of the business.
Right.
So I know the chairmans, I know the other A&Rs, but then I know the writers and the producers and the whole side and both sides of it, and there's a fight that goes on to get people these jobs. And also another thing that this said executive said to me, well, you just can't be the president as soon as you walk into the label when you've never actually.
True.
You know what I mean? So they're like, are they also willing to work their way up? Like,
to even get those positions.
to get those positions.
How much time does that take these days, though?
We don't know until we do it.
Yeah. Listen.
But we have to start
you do
doing
it right, it don't take long.
If you do it right, it don't take long, especially if you got an artist. Because we all know a nigga
That
be fresh out.
embodies this Voltron that we
Right.
talking
You
about.
can be fresh out the penitentiary. If you got this artist that you talking about,
Right.
Executive.
you an
Bring him on
executive
in.
tomorrow.
Bring him on in.
You don't need to know none of the
He
terms.
seemed to know something.
Yeah.
Bring him on
Yeah.
in.
So what was you doing last week?
This is called a budget.
This is called a budget. Don't blow it.
Don't blow it.
So
All right. Who's producing for this artist?
I think Robert Glasper can produce for them all. Yes.
And Robert told me that he could make an album for $12,000.
He showed it and had something left over.
They gave him a whole budget
So
of
he can go under budget.
$12,000, and he
Man.
made an album with it.
I just think he's so experimental and so just out of the range of what people think is normal.
Yeah. Well, it depends on who you ask.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because there's a
But see, I had this thing with Robert, right?
Yeah.
Is I tell him he's not neo soul, even though he feels like his music sells to a neo soul audience. I'm really like saying more so to his ability to transcend the genres that he personally has and still be the jazz artist that can go and play circles around anyone. Right? So I think he's a Quincy Jones of our era right now. And I think he's just getting started with the peak of where he can go creatively.
Yeah.
well, and also him being introduced to, for a guy like Quincy Jones, you get introduced to, or you come in contact with a Michael Jackson, and then that really puts you in a different space to where your creativity feels, sounds, and looks different.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when it's
So what you're saying is that him and Chris Brown
So I was
should
just
do
about to say that.
this album
I
since they
cannot
was
wait
fighting on the
till-
internet anyway.
Yeah,
I
but see,
cannot
'cause it's-
wait till
'cause
him
it's
and Chris Brown get in the
'cause it's like
studio
when he's-
together.
When he's doing, it's different when he's scoring the movie and when he's with the Rat Pack and he's doing that. It's different. It's a different melodic take. It's a completely different, you know what I mean? It's a completely different movement as opposed to if Robert Glasper was working with Chris Brown. Like, what is
What
that?
would that sound like? Yeah.
Exactly.
That's that's that.
Yeah.
That we didn't know Quincy had.
Right.
I remember being in the studio with B. Cox, and we actually got a chance to meet the string arranger for that era of Mike's career.
Come on, shout him out.
Can't remember his name.
Benjamin Wright.
Yes, Benjamin Wright.
Come on, man. Come on.
Doggone right. He came to Chalice. He came to Chalice
come on.
I
Studios.
know Benji.
We were in there
Yeah.
working. And I was just floored.
Shout out to my homegirl Ashley. That's her daddy.
Yes. Boy, when you know music, you know music.
I mean,
I love Benjamin Wright.
You know what I mean?
I got some.
It's not just the hair.
I got some
Right.
hay
It's just not
horns
just the
on
hair.
my. You're my star. I got some Michael Jackson
Yeah,
horns on.
yeah,
You're my
right,
star.
yeah.
I've got. We know people.
And Quincy wasn't doing it by himself.
Well, no,
None
but
of us are.
None of us are. But he knew how. He knew to make those calls. He knew. We need a different bass player.
Yeah.
Right.
We need a different
Where's
bass
Greg
player.
filling games?
Where's Greg?
Yeah. Call Greg.
Call Greg. He knows. He knows. He'll do it. Shout out to Greg's filming games. I guess he's going back on the road.
Our guy.
Now, so he's,
of course he is.
But yeah, it's that marriage of like
Yeah.
It's the spirit of collaboration
the
too.
spirit of collaboration is just at
Come
its
on.
height.
And
though.
to
Don't
know
leave-
that
don't leave
there's
our
enough
ride.
money
Don't
to
leave
go
our
around.
ride.
There's enough money to go around.
No, it is.
when it always is when it's great.
Yeah.
It always is.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
What else you got?
I got some other stuff.
Yeah.
Because I know this.
Cause he didn't said some names while he was here, so this is gonna be a little bit different for you, brother.
Okay.
I ain't saying no names. 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 Where you was, who you with, what you did.
the church niggas,
Don't
man.
say she.
2 and 4, baby.
Not the 1 and 3, the
I
2
ain't
and
saying
4.
no names.
Yes.
Yeah. He got them president vocals now. You know what I mean? He been singing at the White House and shit, man. Skinny been at the White House, man.
Making policies.
Babs
you know.
been back in D.C.
Yeah. Secret Service over here, man.
You know.
Nice.
Did you say you the Secretary of Defense?
Yeah, you know, they need the general to do general
Yes,
shit.
yes, yes.
Just what this general
Generally.
generally.
Oh, shit. So this segment of the show, a very important segment, we save it for last. You know what I mean? It's called I Ain't Saying No Names, where you tell us a story, funny or fucked up, or funny and fucked up, along the journey.
Damn,
Donnie
I think we
Scantz.
just already just
No,
did
listen,
that
but
through this whole
listen.
Don't act like you ain't got more.
I know you got more. And some ones you don't want to put names to. You know what I'm saying?
Whew.
So give you a second to
I
think.
ain't saying no names.
Give you a second to think. You know what I
We
mean?
was in New York.
Oh, sure. He's going
shit.
out. Okay,
hold on.
right now. Okay.
Hold on.
So right now.
I like your attitude.
Yeah.
I like your attitude.
First he went from, I don't know.
I
you
don't
know,
know.
so one time. So listen, right now,
Ooh,
this is Donnie Scantz, the Scant Man himself.
I
ain't saying no names.
We were in New York City.
That's a place. That's a place.
Whew. We went to go drink sake at a sake bar in New York City. I didn't know how sake hits after you drink so many shots. I ain't saying no names. But we was at the Renaissance Hotel in Manhattan.
Yeah, I know exactly one.
You had to take an elevator to get up to the lobby. And God forgive me, because we were so... Oh, man, I don't even know if I should tell this one.
Too late. Too late. Just go, man.
Oh, my goodness. Well, security had to help me and this other individual up to our rooms because we kind of passed out in that one floor elevator going up after the cab dropped us out. And we get up to our rooms, and in New York, you had a whole lot going on during this time. Like, yeah. I fell out in the hotel room only to wake up to seeing the room full of disarray, knowing that some things happened around me that God put me to sleep for.
Didn't want you to witness it.
Didn't want me to participate, or even think of being a part of. And I could just remember seeing things around me that were used and
The hangover is real.
and I ain't saying no names.
I ain't saying who it was used, though.
Oh shit. Not used on.
But
Ooh,
yeah,
that wake up is different.
that wake up is different. But I'm glad I was asleep. Now that I'm 47 and
My
I could
God.
think about it. Because when I wasn't 47 and I woke up, I was mad.
Man, y'all didn't wake me up.
I'm telling you. Listen, I'm 48 and I'm still mad. I ain't got over that night. I fell asleep. I have not.
But that's the only sleep that only God could
That's
put you through.
only God.
That's only. That's
Only God could have knocked me out and kept me out of that because I needed it.
No, boy.
No.
I
Shouts
wanted
out.
in.
Only you know who that story is.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Toast to you.
Oh, I gotta tell me I ain't saying no names and tell my story like that.
Oh my God.
But the names are so legendary in the story.
Oh yeah.
Good job. Good job.
I did
Good
that.
job, Lord.
Good job, Lord. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Brother Donnie Scantz, you have been my relative for quite some time, my brother.
Hey, man.
It is really good to see you.
Yes, it is.
You know what I mean? It's
After so long.
After so long. It's really dope, talking down memory lane and being able to put myself back there as a kid, as 22.
We were kids,
23-year-old
kids.
On our own.
Because kids get on their family's insurance till they're 26 now, right?
I wasn't on none of that.
But that's just to show you
Nigga,
the level in which you're still considered a kid.
Outside.
I guess I was grown for a long time because we didn't have no insurance.
I didn't even know what we were talking about.
Right.
We were outside.
We were outside.
Literally.
We were outside.
In Atlanta by ourselves, trying to figure it out. And it's I mean, I couldn't tell you enough how much I love you and appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for having
humble
me.
beginnings are why we are who we are and what we are, man, and why we will continue to be.
Absolutely.
It's the love. It's the love for it. It is the love for ourselves that will continue to drive us, and that's what we teach.
Yeah.
That's what we continue to preach and teach.
And I hope your audience was able to take away a lot from what they needed to hear from this.
Yeah. Well, they hear the journey, man, and that's the most important.
Because y'all are doing God's work here.
Yes, sir.
Trust that.
Yeah.
Trust that. The information is important.
Mm-hmm.
The information is very, very important.
Yes, sir.
And I think people could utilize this and take from our experiences and make this world a better place.
Yes, sir.
That's what Michael said.
Yeah.
Just you and me.
That's the only purpose, man. Thank y'all so much.
Come on, man. My name is Tank.
I'm J Valentine.
And this is the R&B Money Podcast, the authority on all things R&B.
Yeah.
This has been the journey. This has been mental health. This has been music. This has been everything with our brother, the talented Donnie Scantz.
Yes.
R&B